Good morning, students. Today we are going to read our fourth chapter of Beehive, A Truly Beautiful Mind. The chapter is a sort of biography about the genius scientist Albert Einstein. The author here, the writer here, is calling his mind a truly beautiful mind for two reasons. One, because first, he was an ingenious scientist, ingenious personality, or a genius scientist, and secondly, because he loved peace. He was a humanitarian. So two adjectives, truly here is adverb and beautiful is here adjective. Truly beautiful. Why truly beautiful? As well as a genius scientist, he was a humanitarian. He loved peace. He worked so many things he did for let the peace prevail in the world. So he is called a truly beautiful mind. His mind has been called a truly beautiful mind. So let's read it, and before we read, let's go through the 2 or 3 bullet points given here before the text here. Number 1, bullet point number 1, who do you think of when you hear the word genius? Genius means exceptionally intelligent person, or ingenious, you can say. The person who has exceptional skills, exceptional intelligence. Exceptional means not normal, more than normal intelligence he had. So when you hear this word genius, what comes to your mind? Whom do you think about? Means some people, those you consider genius in your lives, you have heard of. Who is a genius? Who is a genius? A person who, of course, who have exceptional characteristics, exceptional qualities. What qualities do you think a genius has? So what exceptional qualities one should have to be known as a genius? You can make a list. He must have been a tremendous you can say IQ level. He must have a capacity to learn things at a quick pace. He must have the capability to remember things for a lot more time. He might have the ability to see the things with such a perspective which we don't have, we normal people don't have. So there could be number of qualities a person who's called genius can have. So today we are going to read about such a person who is called genius, and he is the scientist Albert Einstein. Point number two, we shall now read about a young German civil servant who took the world by storm. See the beautiful usage of the idiom, took the world by. So taking the world by storm means he became very successful and popular very quickly, like a storm, right? About 100 years ago, in the summer of 1905, the 26-year-old published in quick succession 4 groundbreaking papers. 4 groundbreaking papers means 4 research papers in the field of physics about light. What were the topics of his research papers? First was about light, second the motion of particles, third the electrodynamics of moving bodies, and energy. His work took up only few pages in scientific journals, but changed forever our understanding of space-time and entire cosmos. Cosmos means universe. Means although his research papers were published on some of the pages of scientific journals, but those papers, the theories contained in those papers, they completely changed the outlook, the perspective that we look towards these components, space, time, and universe. We got a complete new understanding about these 3 or 4 elements, and transformed the name Einstein into a synonym for genius. And genius, Einstein was considered after that the synonym of genius. Means when you search genius, you definitely get a name on Google: Einstein. So he was transformed metaphorically. He people started calling him a genius. Number next, fifth years after his death, Albert Einstein's genius, 50, sorry, not fifth, 50 years, it's not 50, he died in 1955, so it's more than 50 now. It might have been 50 when the text was written, but now it is more than 70 years. Albert Einstein's genius still reigns means rules, means still people consider him the great scientist in the field of physics, in the field of science. People still consider him a genius. Okay, now let's move to our paragraph number 1. Albert Einstein was born on 14 March 1879 in the German city of Ulm without any indication that he was destined for greatness. See, it might have happened with almost all genius people. If you remember, we have also read the description about Evelyn Glennie in our second chapter. If you remember, his teachers also told that nothing could happen in her life. She would not be able to do anything great in her life, and the parents were, of course, they were upset by those remarks, but still she made it, and she just left the world in awe, and she achieved great success in her life. Similar thing is happening here with Albert Einstein. When he was born in 1879, he didn't have any indication, he showed no indication that he was going to become such a great scientist in his upcoming life. Rather, on the other hand, on the contrary, see the shift of you can say thought. On the contrary, his mother thought Albert was a freak. Freak means not a normal child, means he didn't have the indications of a normal child. To her, his head seemed much too large, means when he was born with this great large head. So he was not like other normal children, he was just something abnormal in him. So his mother also thought him that he was a freak, he was not normal. Paragraph number 2. At the age of 2.5, Einstein still wasn't talking. See, normally a child starts speaking 1 or 2 words at the age of 9 or 10 months, or even before that. And when he is 2 years old, he or she can make up a broken sentence, and he would be able to make us understand what he wants to say. But at the age of 2.5, nowadays the children are admitted to school, but he was not even able to speak out the words from his mouth at the age of 2.5. When he finally did learn to speak, he uttered everything twice, and we finally after 2.5 years, when he started speaking out, when he started uttering the words, it so happened that he spoke out everything 2 times. So it was not a natural course, it was not a natural phenomena that was happening with him. It was not a natural process that he was going through in his life. Einstein did not know what to do with other children. What to do with other children means he was never interested in playing with his friends or the children of his age. He never found it so interesting playing almost useless games and wasting the times. And his playmates called him brother boring because he was never interested in the games. So the playmates were not interested in him, and they always called him brother boring. They always called the boy a boring boy. So the youngster played by himself. So no one was willing to take him in his team, and he was not willing to be the part of their team. So he remained to himself. He played by himself. Let's move to the next page. He played to himself much of his time, means he used to spend much of his time alone, not playing with anyone, with the children of his age. He especially loved mechanical toys. He loved mechanical toys who could be mechanically operated. Looking at his newborn sister Maza, he is said to have said, "Fine, but where are her wheels?" So, see, the funny incident here has been introduced by the writer. He's saying he was so mesmerized, he was so attracted, or he was so fascinated by the mechanical toys when his newborn sister Maza, when he saw first time his newborn sister Maza, when his sister was born, and he saw her. He just asked his parents, okay, fine. He thought that his parents have brought a mechanical toy for him. So he said, fine, but where are her wheels? Means if you have brought a new toy for me, the toy must have wheels. So where are her wheels? He didn't understand that it was a human baby. It was not a toy. See, before moving to third paragraph, let's move back to the last page. In between second paragraph, the remaining text was given on the next page. Here we have got some information in the box, in the blue box, an incident actually. When he started speaking, how it so happened, how did it take place that he uttered the sentence properly. See, an Australian American historian, Otto Nosebor, Otto, actually his full name was Otto Edgar Nosebor, the historian of ancient mathematics, told a story about the boy Einstein that he characterizes as a legend. Legend means a story, but that seems fairly authentic. Actually, legend is a story that is not authenticated, that is not authentic. People just transfer it to their next generations, but it is not written authentically somewhere in the text. But Otto Nosbuer, he just described a story about him, as he was a late talker. He means Albert Einstein. He was a late talker, means he started talking very late in his life. His parents were worried. His parents were quite worried about it. It is quite natural phenomena with every parents, every parent. At last, at the supper table one night, it so happened once in a night when the family was having their dinner together, he broke his silence to say, the soup is too hot. He broke means Einstein first time uttered a complete sentence, and it was, the soup is too hot. Greatly relieved, the parents were greatly relieved. They had a sigh of relief. Oh, thank God. Finally, the child has spoken out something. Finally, he has uttered something. Finally, he has started talking. Finally, he has his point of view about something. His parents asked why he had never said a word before. Means, if he could speak the complete sentence perfectly, why he had never uttered anything before? Albert simply replied, because up to now everything was in order. Means everything was perfect. I didn't find the need to talk about something, to have have a kind of complaint about something. Everything was fine, everything was in order, so I didn't find it important to speak out, to say something. So today the soup is hot, so that's why I had to speak out, otherwise I would not have spoken. It's just I'm telling you, just for the for the purpose of understanding. The boy just said these two words, until everything, until today, everything up to now, everything was in order. He didn't explain it further. I am just explaining it for the purpose that you people might will have understood it. So he was not a kind of person who would speak so much. He is not kind of a boy who would speak so much. He didn't find it interesting. So now let's move to our third paragraph. A headmaster once told his father that what Einstein chose as a profession wouldn't matter, because he'll never make a success at anything. Means he was considered so stupid, so dull in the school, that his headmaster once called his parents and he announced that he'll not be able to become successful in his life. Whatever he'll do, he chooses to study, he'll not be able to pass that subject and he'll not be able to become successful in his life. Einstein began learning to play the violin at the age of 6 because his mother wanted him to. He later became a gifted amateur. Both the pronunciations of this word is correct. Amateur or amateur. Amateur is American, amateur is British. So he later became a gifted amateur. Amateur is something that you do for enjoyment, not for earning money. He became a gifted amateur violinist, maintaining this skill throughout his life. Means throughout his life he liked playing violin, and his mother made him learn playing violin at the age of 6 because she thought that her son was really a gifted child. He was never bothered by the comment of the headmaster. She was never bothered by the comment of the teachers. She was never bothered by the comments of other people about her son. So she just made her son learn playing violin, and he learned it by heart, and he was really a gifted musician. And people generally say if he would not have become a scientist, he had a great career in music, in the field of music. Paragraph number 4. But Albert Einstein was not a bad pupil. Although his teachers didn't have a high opinion about him at his early schooling time, but he was not a bad pupil. Later on, he was not a bad student. Pupil means student, learner. He went to high school in Munich. He went to high school in Munich, where Einstein's family had moved when he was 15 months old, and scored good marks in almost every subject. When he was 15 months old, his family had moved to Munich, from Ulm to Munich. Remember, he was born in Ulm. Then the family moved to Munich, and he was admitted to a school, and he scored very good marks in almost every subject. Einstein hated the school's regimentation and often clashed with his teachers. Although Einstein never liked his school very much, he hated going there because of the very strict regimentation, means very very strict discipline in his school, and often clashed and often had a tussle, means a clash of opinions with his teachers. At the age of 15, when he was 15 years old, Einstein felt so stifled. Stifled means so suffocated. He didn't want to be there for a long period of time because the people were so strict, and they were not they never welcomed his opinions. They never gave respect to his ideas. So he just felt suffocated there, and then he, at the age of 15, he decided to leave the school for good. For good means forever. This is the phrasal verb, my dear students. You must note down it. For good. No, left the school for good means not for good future. It's not saying for good future. Forever means he never returned back to that school. Okay. Number 5, paragraph number 5. The previous year means when he was 14 years old, Albert's parents had moved to Milan and left their son with relatives. He was left to his relatives, and his parents had moved to Milan. After a long discussion, Einstein got his wish to continue his education in German-speaking Switzerland. He was able to convince his parents that he wanted to have his further studies in Switzerland, in a city which was more liberal than Munich, and he found the city of Switzerland more liberal, more accepting and understanding and respecting than Munich. Means he, when he was moved to Switzerland from Munich, he found the new school very much different from the earlier one, the previous one. In the previous school, he was suffocated. No one welcomed his ideas. Nobody welcomed his point of view. But here in Munich, sorry, here in Switzerland, he found the school completely different from his previous one. Okay, number 6. Okay, students, we have done up to here paragraph number 5. Let's now move to paragraph number 6. Einstein was highly gifted in mathematics and interested in physics, and after finishing school, he decided to study at a university in Zurich. But science wasn't the only thing that appealed to the dashing, means attractive, full of confidence young man with walrus mustache. Walrus mustache means he thick, long, and drooping. Drooping means falling down mustaches. Einstein was a highly gifted person, a highly gifted student in mathematics and physics. And after finishing school, he wanted to have the admission in the university in Zurich, and he definitely got the admission there. But it was not only the studies that interested him. It was not only his favorite subjects, maths and physics, interested him. There was something else. There was something interesting there in the university that actually he fell in love with. And what was that special thing? Let's find out in paragraph number 7. He also felt a special interest in a fellow student, Milivia Marek, whom he found to be a clever creature. It so happened that in their batch there was a girl, Milivia Marriage, and she was a very intelligent girl. She was equally intelligent as Einstein was, and it so happened that she was the only girl student in their course. They were total 5 or 6 students, and they both of them, Milivia Marriage and Einstein, had both coincidentally the same subjects, mathematics and physics, they had chosen. So they had to do a lot of work together. They had to discuss a lot of things together. They were under the same teacher. Both of them had always to do the same assignments, the same projects, and that is why they used to spend quite a lot of time with each other, and they started feeling, liking for each other. This young Serb had come to Switzerland because the university in Zurich was one of the few in Europe where women could get degrees, and in that time the girls were not supposed to go to universities, and there were very little number very very little number of young girls who would go to universities for higher education, and Milvia Marriage was one of such girls who was very intelligent. And although her father was very rich and he had made special arrangements for her daughter to get higher studies, but Milvia was so intelligent that she took a test to get admission in the university, and she scored highest marks in all those papers, and she took the admission there. So it was not only the studies, but it was Milivia Marriage that interested Einstein very much in his during his college life. So both of them developed a liking for each other, and they finally fell in love with each other. What happens next here? Einstein, one more reason why Einstein liked her so much. Einstein saw in her an ally against the Philistines, those people in his family and at the university with whom he was constantly at odds. Means, see, the explanation of Philistinians have been given here. A word used disapprovingly means it's a negative word for the people, to talk about people for who do not like art, literature and music. For those people who didn't like art, literature and music. So it was Einstein saw in her an ally against the Philistinians, those people in the family. Means she was quite different from the family members of Einstein or the people in the university who did not like art, music and literature. So she was just opposite to that. She liked art, music and literature. And the couple fell in love. That is why these were two or three reasons. First, they chose the same subjects. Amelia was quite intelligent as Albert Einstein was. Second reason, this was the second reason. And third, because she also loved music, literature, and art. That's why they fell in love. They just developed affection for each other. Letters survived in which they put their affection into words, mixing science with tenderness, and they expressed, because both of them were science students. So, what you can expect from science students? How would they write the letters if they have to exchange the letters to each other? They could not be, totally romantic. They will definitely mix some scientific words or elements in their letters. Here the same example has been given. Wrote Einstein, how happy and proud I shall be when we both have brought our work on relativity to a victorious conclusion. Means they both might have been working on the theory of relativity, and Einstein wrote, I would be happy, that he would be very very happy and proud when their work on relativity would be victorious, to reach a victorious conclusion, means that would be published. So this is how they used to show their affection to each other. Paragraph number 8. In 1900, at the age of 21, Albert Einstein was a university graduate. In 1900, when he was 21, he graduated from the university, but he didn't have any job. He worked as a teaching assistant. He gave private lessons and finally secured a job in 1902. So until in 1902, when he got a job, he used to work as an assistant teacher. He gave private tuitions to the students, and this is how he earned some money before grabbing a job in 1902 as a technical expert in the patent office in Bern. See the word patent. Patent office is here what? An office where the documents are or the inventions are patented. They get a patent, means they get a formal document declaring that so and so person has invented such thing, or given such a theory which was not earlier given by anyone, proposed by anyone. So you have to get a patent in your name if you have to invent something, if you have invented something. So he did a job there in the patent office as a technical expert, while he was supposed to be assessing. While what was his job profile? To assess, to other people's inventions, to assess, you understand, to just assess the quality of the invention of the other people. Einstein was actually developing his own ideas in secret, and he was meanwhile, when he was doing his job in the patent office, he was also developing his theories in physics. He is said to have jokingly called his desk drawer at work the Bureau of Theoretical Physics, and he used to call his drawer where he used to you can say used to hide his research papers in his drawer in the office. He used to call that drawer Bureau of Theoretical Physics. So that's all for today. Rest of the chapter, remaining paragraphs of the chapter, we will read in our next class. I hope you all have understood up to here. Up to here we have read about his childhood. When he was born, he was not born like a normal child. He had a large head. His mother used to call him a freak. His mother used to consider him a freak. And when he was a young boy, small child, he never liked playing with his friends. His friends used to call him brother boring. And when he went to school, his headmaster was never happy with him. And when he just grew up a little bit, he had a tussle with his teachers. He had a clash of opinion with his teachers. He never liked his school very much, and then he moved to Switzerland. There finally he got settled, and at the age of 21 he graduated from the university of Zurich. But before graduation, he just fell in love with Milivia Marek. marriage, who was equally intelligent as he was, and she was also the student in physics. And in 1902 he got a job in the patent office in Bern, and he used to call his drawer the Bureau of Theoretical Physics, where he used to hide his you can say the theories that he was developing in secret, avoiding avoiding from the other people of his office, avoiding the view of other people of his office. Means he didn't let anyone come to know that he was working on the physical no physics, on the theories of physics there in his office. Okay, I hope that's quite understood to all of you, and in our next class we will read the next paragraph, from paragraph number 9 to 17. And if you have some questions, if you have not understood something, just drop me a question. I will answer your question definitely. Thank you very much.